We are 5 weeks from the official start of free agency. A deep group at wide receiver. Chris Godwin probably at the top of that list. Still a few weeks shy of his 25th birthday. And still some time for Godwin to get a new phone. Because he lost it at the championship boat parade. Scotty Miller, his teammate, dropped it into the water. Got to get that thing back or get a new one at least so he can field some calls. You could argue that Allen Robinson is right up there too with Chris Godwin. He might be maybe the best wide receiver on the market right now if you think that maybe he's been held back by the quarterback play in Jacksonville, and then in Chicago you got Kenny Golladay, Will Fuller, JuJu, and Corey Davis, among many others. And it's an extremely deep wide receiver class in free agency. So let's talk best fits for these free agent wide receivers. We have Bryant McFadden and Will Brinson, the host of the Pick Six podcast. And let's start, Will, with Chris Godwin. Is there a better place right now than Tampa with Tom Brady throwing you the ball?
No, there's not. And I mean, I think, one of the things, Chris, when you talk about Chris, is that you have to look at a couple of factors in his decision making. First of all, he may not have a decision because the Buccaneers can franchise tag him if they can work out deals with Shaq Barrett and Levante David, both of whom seem very inclined to stay in Tampa Bay already. So we'll see how that plays out. If they don't franchise tag him, he's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to go somewhere like, I don't know, the Jets, and pay New York State income taxes and play with an unknown quarterback situation on a team that hasn't shown it can really do much, right? Or does he want to maybe take a little bit less at the age of 24, stay in Florida, play with Tom Brady, keep chasing Super Bowls? To me, it's a no-brainer. You stay with Tom Brady, and we'll have to see what happens with Antonio Brown. Obviously, Mike Evans will be there, but I think Chris Godwin would be crazy to bounce out of there. He's young. He has a ring. He needs some money to buy a new cell phone. But I mean, I think Tampa's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, Will, I agree with you. I think when you look at as an individual, being able to play with Tom Brady once again, put up big time numbers throughout the entire season. Remember, he missed a few ball games in 2020 because of the injury. If he's able to play a full slate of games, the numbers will follow him. And if they decide to franchise tag him, granted, he's right back to the table again in 2022. If they give him a long-term deal, he might have to take a little less compared to some of the other spots that will be available. But winning cures all of that, in my opinion. And what I'm starting to see now with this organization, Will, a lot of these players are willing to take less to stay, keep this thing going, keep the band together. So I wouldn't be surprised. And another destination I would like to highlight out as well outside of the Jets. What about the New England Patriots? I think they will have around $60 million of cap space. We know they're definitely in the need to add playmakers to their offense, especially at the wide receiver position. So that could be another team to monitor when you look at the Chris Godwin sweepstakes.
Okay, so Godwin at the top, not very far behind, I wouldn't think, is Allen Robinson. B-Mac, I mean, you got to go somewhere with a good quarterback, an established quarterback, right? He's been in Jacksonville and Chicago.
Yes. And because of that, you can kind of cancel out a few teams. I think the Jets definitely will try their hand at Allen Robinson. And when you think about Allen Robinson, you think of a wide receiver that's clearly in the 30s. He's only 28 years old. It seems like he's been around forever. But the ideal destination for Allen Robinson, in my opinion, and I understand he would probably like to be with a savvy veteran quarterback. But what about reuniting with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence? They need a top pass catcher in their offense. They will need a veteran, savvy pass catcher in their offense to help the growth of their young quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, and they will have money available. This is a new regime there. The entire organization is basically different from what it was when he was there, and I think Trevor Lawrence is an attractive arm that could probably get Allen Robinson right back in Duval County. So I think that's the top spot for me when you look at Allen Robinson, and clearly a team that needs a big-time pass catcher, and they have the funds available to pay him.
Yeah, let's not forget about the fact that Allen Robinson, I mean, he hadn't played with a good quarterback his entire life. I mean, just like dating back to middle school. So I think that should be first and foremost on his board when you look at where you might go. So I hesitate to say like the Giants, because I don't know that Daniel Jones is great, but I think he's an upgrade over some of the guys that he's played with. I think, dude, what you look for, honestly, the best landing spot for him could even be somewhere like Baltimore. And we'll have to see how that can work from a cap space perspective and all of that. But Lamar Jackson needs help on the outside. He has Marquise Brown. unsure. But man, Allen Robinson would be a wonderful complement to Hollywood just in terms of what he does from a size and speed perspective. A guy who can help move the chains and really would force defenses to shift away from focusing on the tight end Mark Andrews and really have to guard on the outside for some physicality. So I like Baltimore as a sneaky landing spot.
We're talking free agent fits for some of these really good wide receivers in a deep class who are scheduled to become free agents in about 5 weeks. How about Kenny Golladay, B-Mac? He only played 5 games this past season, battling a hip injury.
But he's a baller, Chris. When he's healthy, he is a top target for any quarterback that's able to get him the football. And the ideal team that I believe would be the perfect fit for Golladay is the New York Football Giants. I mean, taking a page from what Buffalo did last year, being able to get their young quarterback, a proven #1 target in Stephon Diggs, that did wonders for Josh Allen and the entire offense. I think the Giants need to do the same thing, trying to get the most out of their young quarterback in Daniel Jones, provide him a top #1 pass catcher, a guy that can do it all. He can do damage in between the 20s, and he also can do damage in the red zone. Kenny Golladay is that guy. He is a playmaker. He's a guy that can get behind the coverage. He's a guy that can move the chains. He is a do-it-all type of wide receiver, and instantly, you don't just improve the offense, but you improve your quarterback if you're able to sign a guy like Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, he struggled with injuries this past season. Will Fuller, a guy that's struggled with injuries throughout his career, but Will, this season, he stayed healthy. He was doing great, and then smacked the PED suspension for 6 games that ended his season. What would be a good fit for him on the free agent market?
Well, 2 things first. One, hashtag free Kenny Golladay. Do not tag him, Lions. That is not fair. Don't do it. It's wrong. It's mean. Let him free. Leave him alone. Secondly, wow, Will Fuller stayed healthy after taking PEDs. What a shocking turn of events. Look, I think the Packers are a good landing spot here. They were rumored to be interested as a possible trade option. He's still got a one-game suspension coming up. To start the 2021 season. So it's possible that his market is really suppressed and, because of the injuries, because of the PED thing, that, he ends up having to take like a 1-year prove-it deal. I don't think that would be entirely shocking. And if that's the case, you could definitely see a team like the Patriots getting in on him, right? I mean, they need some speed. They have plenty of possession guys. And Will Fuller takes the top off like very few receivers in the NFL. So I think both those spots could work pretty nicely for you.
All right, let's move on to JuJu SmithSchuster. 97 catches in that dink and dunk offense for Ben Roethlisberger and B-Mac's Steelers last season. You think he's worn out his welcome there in Pittsburgh? Does he need a fresh start?
I don't necessarily believe he needs a fresh start, but when it comes to the finances, I think he will be playing elsewhere. He's going to command top dollar, and I think he will be able to receive something of that stature when you look at the money that will be available. The ideal destination for me with JuJu is the New York Jets for a few reasons. Of course, they need to add playmakers to their young quarterback in Sam Darnold. We know about their personal relationship, JuJu and Sam Darnold also having their USC ties. And then outside of the game of football, his brand. We know JuJu is a marketable individual. Being able to be playing for the New York Jets, being in New York would do wonders for his brand off the football field. And you better believe he would capitalize on that opportunity. So I think the New York Jets will probably be the best destination for JuJu SmithSchuster. He loves the quarterback as a player and as a person, and I think he could improve their offense. Another team I like to highlight real quickly is the Baltimore Ravens. I think they definitely will try to add a veteran pass catching target, wide receiver target for Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Baltimore Ravens slide in JuJu SmithSchuster's DM to see exactly what it will take for him to be playing in a Ravens uniform.
All right, let's move on. One more here in this deep free agent wide receiver class. Corey Davis, Will, he's coming off a breakout season that many of us had been waiting for.
Yeah, including the Titans, right? Thanks for doing it the final year, Corey. We would have used our 5th-year option had we known. I think you could look at the Washington, maybe to the NFC East here, because this is a guy who's got, he's a very good route runner. He does have speed, but really more of a physical chain mover coming out of, a smaller college. Didn't get necessarily the reps against high-end talent, but now he's really shown that he can produce at the NFL level. So I think with Washington needing additional wide receiver help and with New York needing additional wide receiver help, those could be 2 landing spots to look for. And a lot may really depend, guys, on what happens with the franchise tag situation. If Allen Robinson gets tagged, if Kenny Golladay gets tagged, had, then all of a sudden Corey Davis really flies up the list in terms of who might be interested. If those guys are set free into the market, then you could see maybe Corey Davis having to take a smaller deal, and that's when it's like a value team like New England could step in.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.